Hello there, sports fans. Today we'll be painting the portals from Dungeon Bowl, but watch out, as neither I nor the Colleges of Magic will be held liable for any balls or players lost as a result of these precarious, perilous portals painted personally by yours truly.
Welcome to Hobby with Ollie. My name is Ollie, and this is my hobby. In this, the first episode of Dungeon Bowl off-season, I'm going to be painting up the wackiest, zaniest part of any Dungeon Bowl game, the portals. Allowing for crazy maneuvers behind enemy lines, daring blitzes and last-ditch defences, the portals are one of the most important parts of the insanity that is Dungeon Bowl. Each time a player steps on, or is pushed into, one of these portals, you roll a d6 and move your player to the corresponding portal. However, if you roll the same number that you're standing on, you'll be removed from play, suffering a magical mishap as your player disappears into the ether.
One classic example that comes to mind was during the match in 2482 between the Blazing Axes and the Radiant Lions. After a particularly hefty shove, the Lions' star player Gilbert Heffelthwaite disappeared into a portal, missing presumed deceased. Several days later, he was found deep in the college library, babbling about the wonders of the cosmos. He may have been taken slightly more seriously were it not for the fact he had his underpants on his head.
Seriously, tackling one of your opponent's players and having them poof out of existence into one of these portals is one of the funniest things I've experienced in board games. I'm going to be painting one side of the portal as blue, and the other side a variety of colours so I can identify them quickly during my games. I'm going to start with the portal effect and show you how I did the blue side of all of these portals. I'm starting from a base coat of Wraithbone spray, and then applying Macragge blue through my airbrush. Initially I thin it down maybe a little too much, but by applying a couple of different layers, I eventually get smooth coverage of this dark blue paint. I'm going to add in Thousand Suns blue into the mix, lightening up the colour and focusing this with my airbrush pressure turned way down on the centre of the portals. Continue this with more Thousand Suns blue until you're happy with the effect. For the very last layer, I also added white into the mix. This helps to sell the glow effect and that there's some magical coursing energy.
Especially tenacious sponsors have appealed to the wizards of the colleges to associate their products with the incantations of teleportation. The phrase, "if you gotta eat, it's gotta be McMurty's," is supposed to transport a pushed player to a realm of Dragonflame barbecue bliss. However, this particular marketing stunt was rather short-lived, as the dragon in question seemed more interested in barbecuing the players than the burgers.
For the multicoloured side of the portals, I used a very similar technique. I used masking tape here in order to block off the other side which I'd already painted with my blue. I'm using different colours here, but the basic principle is still the same. Start from your darkest colour and then lighten up towards the centre. Now I would recommend going for quite vibrant shades just to make sure that you really get that sort of portal effect, and then you can go up to pure white right in the middle. Once you're happy with your portal effect, let's move on to the stonework and details around the edge. I'm going to be painting around the edge of the portals with Eshin Grey. This is going to give me a nice base coat to work from. I'm not being too neat at this stage, I am going to need to come back in and tidy up later. The reason for this is because I'm also going to be doing the indented details with my colours now, and it's much easier for me to come back and sort this out later rather than trying to be super neat with it at the first stage. I'm using Retributor armour in all of the numerals. And then on my blue side, I'm using red for all the glyphs around the edge, and on my multicoloured side, I'm using a very light blue. To apply these details, get a loaded brush and apply it haphazardly all over the area where you want that paint to sit in the recess. Thinning down your paint can help a little bit here too. For the numerals, I just kind of slapped it on as I knew I was going to come back with Eshin Grey. Before the little glyphs around the outside, I used my paint and did the same method, before then taking my thumb and very quickly wiping the paint off of the top. This actually got rid of 90% of the excess paint and made it a lot easier when I came to my Eshin Grey touch-ups later on. So that's what I did next, touched up my Eshin Grey, particularly over that Retributor armour. It did take a couple of layers in order to get smooth coverage over this. Next, I went with a dry brush of Celestra Grey over all of the stone details. This really helped to set it all in a place in time and make it feel real. Take your brush and dip it into your Celestra Grey paint. Then you want to wipe off pretty much all of the paint while also making sure you get it into the bristles. Make sure you use an old brush here. A small brush will do, and it can be any type of brush, but you just need to make sure that you get right up in there into the bristles, and this will damage any nice brushes. Then, turning my brush at a 45-degree angle, I'm lightly sweeping over the top of the stone details just to make sure that I can pick out the raised highlights. The advantage here is that it's not going to get in the way of our indented details, and it's going to make our stone stand out and give it a bit of character. Dry brushing is really great for stone as it does help to give it that organic appearance because it is semi-random with where you apply your highlights. And with that, the portals are done, ready to consume players and spit them out the other side in your games of Dungeon Bowl. This is part of a wider Dungeon Bowl series that I'm going to be creating where I paint up a variety of teams and play games as well. So let me know what you'd like to see in this series in the comments down below. As well, if you are liking Dungeon Bowl content and if you play yourself, drop me a like on the video as it really helps me know what kinds of things people are wanting to watch. In the meantime, my name has been Ollie, this has been my hobby, and I'll see you next time.